Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. I'm Tash, and if you're new here, this is a podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials on things that I might have learned or things that people have asked me. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. So it's Thursday the 26th of October 2023, and I'm recording from Sydney, Australia, and it's a bit of a cool day here today and a bit grey and rainy, so hopefully the lighting's okay. So I'm going to get straight into my finished objects, and that is just the one finished object this week, and that's Camisole No. 5 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. I knit it out of Wollmeise Lacegarn in the colorway Schwefel, and it was from a Walk on the Moon kit, so I only had one 100-gram ball, and as a result it's a tiny bit shorter than I might have liked. If I was to knit it again, I definitely would make it a smidge longer. So I'll just talk about what I did differently. I used one needle size down from the pattern. I used a 2.75mm needle. Other than that, I pretty much followed the pattern, except I followed other people's advice about picking up 2 for 3 around the neckline instead of 3 for 4, so that it didn't flare, and that was good. Other than that, I did everything else to pattern. I did actually also go down even one more needle size for the double knitting section here to a 2.5mm needle, and I'm happy about that. So I'll stand back and show you. It's very racer back. I have blocked it, but it's still, it's racer back and racer front really. Other than that, I don't think I did anything differently besides that modification. So it's just long enough. Like, I'm wearing it in these jeans, which aren't super high-waisted. So I'll just show you. My navel is right here. So it's about, it's probably a couple of inches below that. It just fits into these pants. So you can see, I'll just put my hair out of the way. It's high enough that it covers I'm wearing a strapless bra, so it's definitely high enough you don't see my bra at all. And it just fits, like, if you can see, that's where it finishes. So it just fits into these pants. But I can move around as long as I'm wearing a belt. I think if I wasn't wearing a belt, it would sort of pop out, but the belt kind of keeps that in. Yeah, and I really like it. So these pants are sort of a creamy color, and I think they look nice with this. And I also have a pair of like an apricot-y pink pants, and I think it looks nice with that as well. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. But if I was to knit it again, I would probably make it about an inch longer, but I just didn't have any yarn to work with. That's pretty much what I had left. That's it. So in fact, even on the bind off, I actually had to, I've got this little scrap basket, and thankfully I hadn't thrown it away. I had like one strand that was about 30 inches long, and I needed that to just finish the bind off. So yeah, but really, really happy with it. Honestly, it was a lot of knitting. The double knitting was really like slow, lots of picking up stitches. I can't see myself making it again in a hurry. Just like, it's not a bad pattern. It's a well-written pattern. It just wasn't the most fun to knit. There are other things that I have enjoyed knitting more. The 2x2 rib is a bit slow, the small needles. I would say though, like my pie camisole, I knit that on even smaller needles, on a 2.5mm needle, but I just enjoyed knitting that so much more. I'll put a picture of my pie camisole up there. I really like that top. It's a fair bit of 1x1 ribbing in the neckline and the sleeves, but other than that, it's stockinette. And I don't know, I like that as well, and it's just got a little bit more coverage on the this part of the body, so I would see myself knitting that again sooner than this. And also, I really enjoyed the knitting for olive cotton merino that I used in that pattern. The Wollmeise Lacegarn was fine for this. I just really like that knitting for olive cotton merino. It's nice when you find a new yarn that you're like, yeah, I really like that. And I have to be a bit careful when I buy a new yarn, not to buy like a bajillion balls of it and then discover I don't really like it. But I've bought, just one sweater quantity of that one, and I really like it. Anyway, I have a fair bit of Wollmeise Lacegarn. So, but it's, I'm sure I'll either find a purpose for it or destash it. Anyway, right, so that's enough on my finished object. I'm gonna move into my works in progress. So I have 2 new works in progress, and one of them is the field sweater. So I actually only just started this sort of yesterday afternoon, and I've knit the ribbing. I chose to do so I'll tell you the yarn that I'm using first, sorry. I'm using Isager yarn. This is the Highland wool, and I'll put the color numbers in the down bar, and this is their silk mohair, and I just think they look really nice together, and I'm really happy with how that's coming out. So I followed in the pattern it says you can do a shortish ribbing, which is 12 rows, or longer ribbing, which is 18 rows, and I chose the 18 rows. I think I was just a little bit concerned. You can see I've knitted off onto long needles. I really wanted to make sure that it fit well around my neck, that it wasn't too high up, and it is, or it wasn't too loose. It is reasonably high up, but not crazy. I might actually just change out of this and try this on, and also so I can try some of my other works in progress on. Just looks a bit like a collar at the moment, but I really like the color. I think it's really pretty. Right, so I did a tubular cast on, but it was a different kind of tubular cast on that I hadn't done before, that you start with Judy's Magic cast on, and then you create a tubular cast on out of that. And I really like it. I'll take it off and I'll show it up to camera so you can see it, because it's really nice. It's stretchy, but it's not too loosey-goosey. So it goes on easily enough over my head, but it's not like, you know, super loose and way out here. So I really enjoyed doing it. I'll put a link in the show notes to the video that I watched for how to do it. I actually had a look at when the video was made. It was 14 years ago. And I don't think I even knew Judy's Magic cast on 14 years ago. So yeah, the lady's name's Lauralee, and she did a really good job demonstrating it. So I'll put a link there. Yeah, so I've just done the 18 rows of ribbing, and then I did what I ended up doing. I'll take it off now, you don't need to see it. So I'll just show you that it is plenty stretchy. I'll just get it off. So, okay, this is the tricky bit. Okay, I thought I was gonna have to pause there, but that's okay. All right, so I'll show you the tubular cast on. Looks really nice, doesn't it? So that's using Judy, and so you don't need waste yarn. You don't, like, you don't have any setup row. Oh, I guess you have Judy's Magic cast on, but you don't have those rows of double knitting or anything. Yeah, it was really good. The other thing that I did was I did decide it looked a little bit nicer. This was the reverse side of my 1x1 rib, and that was the way I knit it. It's actually not a big difference, but I had been asked to do a tutorial where I showed how to turn around and go backwards, so that the non-presentation side of your 1x1 rib, like the opposite side, you change so that becomes, you start knitting in the opposite direction. Anyway, I did a tutorial on that. It wasn't enough of a difference that I really would have probably bothered, but seeing it was a little bit better, so I thought, oh well, I'll put a tutorial out and do it for this one. So I've done the ribbing, I've done one row, and then I've done the increase row, and I'm ready to start. And I thought I'll just put it on a large needle to make sure it's going to fit okay before I put all of that work into the grains and then find out I can't get it over my head. So anyway, I can get it over my head. It's not too high at my neck because I don't like things that come up too high. I think it's going to be fine. I mean, I've tried it on, I feel more confident, and so I'm ready to start the grains. And the grains are about like 43 rows, and there's action on every other row where you're actually either making grains or collapsing them, and it's a fair bit of work. So I really wanted to be sure I was happy with this length of ribbing, that it fit okay, that it wasn't too high and it wasn't too loose before I put all of the work into the rest of the sweater. And I'm excited to finally get this on the needles. I swatched for this ages ago, and then I put a pause because I was a bit worried about doing the grains with, you know, both strands of yarn, and my gauge was a bit tighter. But, you know, I think I can work the gauge thing out fine because it's top down. If it's not quite big enough, I'll just knit a little bit longer in the, you know, in the body after the grains are all done. And what was the other thing? I've practiced the grains with the two yarns. I just need to knit them a bit looser, basically, so that it's not so hard to collapse them. So I think that's going to be fine. And I can see this sweater in this color. And I tried, you know, thinking about other yarns, but really this is the one that I want to use. So I've gone back to my original plan, and yeah, I think it's going to be a great sweater in this yarn and this color. So that's my first work in progress. I don't think there's anything new on that one. I'm a little bit, not apprehensive, but kind of steeling myself for the whole grains section. I don't think I'm particularly looking forward to that section of, like, actually knitting that section of the pattern, because it's a lot of work and a lot of paying attention. And I just really enjoy stocking it in the round. but I think this pattern's worth it. So yes, so that's the field sweater by Camilla Vad. Right, my second new work in progress is the Soho top by Caidree, and I'm using the recommended yarn, which is Purl Soho Sweetgrass in the colorway Rye Flower. I'm knitting it on a 4mm needle as recommended by the pattern. The only little difference that I've done, a couple of differences. One, I cast on 1 extra stitch for each strap, and my gauge was a tiny bit tighter, so I just in the center cast on, I didn't cast on 2 less, I just cast on the exact same number of stitches. And then I've worked down, I've worked the armhole increases, and I'm at the point where in the pattern it says this is your front, now, or back, I don't know, they're the same. Do it the same thing again for the back, and then join to knit in the round. Now, I do not want to knit garter in the round. That means knitting a row, purling a row, and the beauty of garter is you're just knitting. So I've decided not to knit it in the round. I'm going to do it in pieces. I'll do the front. So I actually have cast on the 2 extra stitches under each arm that I would have had to do. And I technically should have cast on an extra stitch for the seam stitches, but it's actually, I put it up against my Thea top. This is my Thea top, and I put it up, like I sort of, just put it up against it for sizing. I find that really helpful. Particularly, it helps if you actually put it up against another knitted garment, because if you put it up against a commercially made garment, they don't kind of stretch the same way. Whereas if you put it up against another knitted garment that you like the fit of, like another hand knitted garment, you'll get a better gauge of whether that's, is it going to fit the same way? And it was actually pretty much bang on, so I just didn't bother with an extra seam stitch. So I'm going to knit the front completely flat, and that's so nice because now it's just like knitting a scarf, like knitting your first ever garter stitch scarf. You just knit every row until it's long enough. I will block it part way because I'm expecting, garter stretches a lot, and once I get the weight of the whole garment, I'll probably knit it to where it's maybe even a couple of inches shorter than I think I want it to be, and then I'll block it and then make a decision. There's a lot of finishing with I-cord at the end. There's finishing I-cord here and all around the neck and at the bottom as well. I'll probably, I don't know, I'll figure out, I'll probably, join it together and then knit the I-cord bind off. I'm not that far yet, so I'll think about that when I get to it. All I have to do is make sure, on the sides, I'll have to seam up the side and garter stitch, which I don't mind. You just take the high purl bump from one side and the low purl bump from the other. I'm happy to do a video on that if anyone's not as familiar with doing mattress stitch in garter stitch side to side. Yeah, so that's I think that's going to be really. Obviously, I can't try this on like I do with a something that's top down in the round, but I can certainly hold it against me, and I can hold it against another garment that I've knit. And yeah, this is pretty, this is a 20 stitch gauge, so it's pretty quick, and it's all knitting, so it's pretty quick knitting. The finishing will probably take a little while with the I-cord, but yeah, so I'm very happy with that. So that's 2 new cast-ons. Right, so back to other works in progress that were already on my needles. The next one that I'll show you is, the Anker Summer Shirt by Petite Knit. I'm doing this as part of got my yarn caught around something, hang on, sorry. I'm doing this as part of a knit along with Kim and Jonna. They're doing a Petite Knit knit along, so this is one of my projects in that. So I'm using a cotton yarn, it's like half cotton, half acrylic or something, Katia Espiga in this blue colorway, and I'm knitting it. The way I'm doing it is similar to what I was talking about with the field sweater, where I'm knitting the ribbing inside out, and then I'm turning and doing the stockinette sections. And in the pattern itself, it doesn't actually have any short rows written into the pattern to raise the back neckline. So I've taken that as an opportunity when I'm, because I'm knitting the ribbing inside out, but then the stockinette sections the right way around, I'm incorporating the German short rows into that. So I'll knit all of the ribbing for one section, go, and then I guess because I'm working inside out, I'll purl a bit, then I'll turn, come back, knit, do my German short rows, you know, to raise the back. So you can see I've got a little bit, just a tiny bit. I'm only adding a couple of short rows in the back, just to help in each section. I didn't really think to do it in the first section, but I did in the second and the third, and I'll do it again once I finish the ribbing, just to bring that back up just a fraction. So I'm knitting it on smaller needles because I like how this yarn knits. So I'm knitting it on a 3.5mm needle instead of a 4mm needle. And yeah, I'll knit it to size because it's top down in the round. And it also, after you finish the ribbing, it has some raglan increases. So at that point, you know, in trying it on, I could just, you know, work out how long I want it to be. So I'll just pop it on just to show you where it's at right now. Okay, so there's a fair, you know, it's 1x1 rib. There's a heap of stretch here. I'm actually really happy with the neckline. I think that's not too high and not too, I haven't actually blocked this yet, so we'll see what happens when I block it. And I will block it before I split for the sleeves, just to make sure I don't go too far. So that's where it's at right now. I'm almost finished the last 1x1 rib section. I think I've done 7 out of the 10 rows, so I've only got a few rows to go. I'll put my hair up so you can sort of see from the back as well. And yeah, so I will do a couple more short rows. So if I did one in the very beginning, like in the first section, I would have had 1, 2, or like, you know, because every short row is 2 rows, would have been 2, 4, 6, 8, which is about an inch, which is kind of enough usually to raise the back neckline, but it doesn't look too, just because there's, you know, 2 rows instead of, you know, I just wish I'd done one there. This is kind of like my prototype anyway, before I use my special yarn. This is my Habu bamboo yarn. I'm going to make a version in this yarn, but I wanted to make one, you know, like a wearable toile. I think they talk about that in sewing, where you make like a mock, you make a toile, but it's not out of, you know, it's not out of fabric that you couldn't wear. You use some kind of like lesser fabric. So I think they call it a wearable toile. So this is my wearable toile, and it's actually nice. I quite like this color. I might end up, yeah, I definitely think I'm going to wear this, and I am happy with how it's going. Yeah, I don't think I have any other comments to say on it, except I'm definitely glad that I've raised the back neckline a little bit, and I like the size of the, you know, I just used a long tail cast on. I could have, now that I know, now that I used Judy's Magic cast on for the field sweater, I might do that. I think that's kind of my new tubular cast on now for a 1x1 rib, is that Judy's Magic cast on. That was awesome. So look, this looks fine. I did, because I used a long tail cast on, and then I knew I was doing the ribbing inside out, I actually had to do 1 round flat and then joined in the round. So, you know, the long tail cast on has that kind of edging, but on the other side it has the purl bumps, and I definitely wanted that edging to be, but yeah, I like, you know, I mean, the long tail cast on, there's nothing wrong with it, it's fine, but I think for my fancy one, I will, I'll do a tubular cast on using Judy's Magic cast on. It's cold, I need to get put my hair back down, keep the back of my neck warm. Right, so that's whip number 3, Anker Summer Shirt by Petite Knit. Now whip number 4, I'll just show you this one, seeing this is just handy. This is another Petite Knit pattern, so another one that I'm doing for, and it's the Sophie scarf. I don't know that I've done, if you saw this last week, I don't know that I've done any more since then. I've cast on to pattern. I'm using Madelinetosh Pashmina in the colorway Dustweaver. It's really beautiful, light lavendery, browny kind of color. And I'm using 1 needle size smaller because this is a sport weight yarn. Did I say? Yeah, I did say it's by Petite Knit. It's a sport weight yarn, and it's actually written for a DK weight. So I'm using a 3.25mm needle. At the moment, I'm just following the pattern. The large size increases to 33 stitches. I think I'm going to, and I'm at 31 now, and I've just got a marker to sort of keep me on track. I think I'll go to about 36 just based on length. I've kind of blocked it part way, and I'm also holding it up against this previous one, so I'm just sort of matching it up. And this one's a smidge long, so once I get to just a bit before halfway on this one, then I'll start the decreases. So, but this is great portable knitting. It's very, you know, it's very easy, take along, straightforward. I do just need to keep that marker in there so that I keep track of, you know, where my increases are happening, and then later going down where the decreases happen. Right, so that is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. So work in progress number 5 is Pink Velvet by Andrea Mowry. I'm knitting this using Wollmeise Twin in the colorway Feldmaus and Qing Fibre Melted Suri in the colorway Pink Lemonade. I'm using the recommended needle size of 3.5mm for the body. The ribbing was meant to be done on a 3.25mm needle, but I did it on a 3mm needle to try to make it a little bit smaller. However, I've just blocked it and it's really like a bit wide. It's not, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's wider than I was going for. So I'll stand up and show you where I'm at. So I don't have a lot to go. This is where it was at when I blocked it, and I've taken a pause. This is a few days ago, and I just put it aside because I needed to have a bit of a think about how I felt about the neckline, and whether I do anything, like whether if I try to change the neckline, will it change how long I'm going to knit the pattern to. So I'll just show you the back so you can sort of see just how big it is. So there are some short rows in the back. Did you see that okay? I hope so. I don't know, I can't tell. I guess I can tell when I watch this back, but by then it'll be too late to do anything about it. So, so you hopefully saw there were some short rows in the back, but see how loose and loosey-goosey this is. I mean, I know some sweaters that can be the look, right? It's sort of, you know, off the shoulder-ish or just really wide. Look, that's just not sure. So Rhonda messaged me about this, and she said she had the same problem, and it was just too wide for her. She just wasn't wearing it. So she ended up coming back and actually like cutting off the neckline, picking up stitches and turning it into a bit of a turtleneck. I don't see myself wanting to wear this as a turtleneck. I just would have liked the neckline a bit higher. So what I'm thinking, I'll tell you what I'm thinking about doing, and as to when I do it or whether it will affect other things. I'm considering cutting off the neck, like picking up the stitches all the way around here, including at the top of the short rows, and then doing a decrease. I've got 120 stitches here, doing a decrease to either 100 or 96, something like that. So if I let's say knit 3, knit 2 together, I'll get down to 96. If I do a knit 4, knit 2 together, I'll get down to 100. That's probably okay, 100 stitches. So reducing it from 120 to 100 stitches, just, you know, like about 17%. And then redoing the ribbing on 100 stitches instead of 120 stitches, and then doing a tubular bind off. So the cast on that I did here was a tubular cast on, but it was the one that Andrea Mowry recommends, and it's kind of like it's just like a weird, almost long tailish kind of, it's the long, actually that's what she calls it, the long tail tubular cast on, but obviously that's got heaps of stretch, whereas the Judy's Magic cast on tubular cast on, there's stretch, but it's not like this like level of like almost no structure, which is what it feels like, almost no structure. So I'm thinking about that. But my concern is, like, I might be all right with this, like I might like end up wearing it and just quite liking it. But what if I don't? And then, so I knit the length the way I want it, and then later if I come back and do that and bring it up, that it might bring everything up, which will make the arms too short and the body too short. I don't know, I don't see myself bringing it up too much. I mean, it's not going to bring it up 2 inches, but it might bring it up half an inch. I don't know, I'm not sure. So I did just want to pause and have a little think about it. I was almost ready to just cut this off and just start doing it. And then I thought, actually, no, this is actually wearable. Like if obviously once I finish it, but if I finish it, as I think about it now, I don't think changing the ribbing, even if I bring it up to like 100 stitches, if I just knit bring it in a little, knit a slightly longer ribbing, because this is a very short, there's only like 5 rows. Knit a slightly longer ribbing at a slightly, it shouldn't, I don't think so. I don't think it will pull the body or the sleeves up too much that I'll be like, now this is unwearable. And even if it was, I could just go back and like add a little bit of extra for the ribbing for the sleeves and the body. So all of that to say, I'm almost finished the body. I've started sort of alternating skeins, but I don't think like they're super, super close. Like I can't, it's not striping or anything. So, you know, like that's what I've got left of the first ball, and I've got like almost the whole ball here. So I think I'm probably almost at the point where I'll do maybe another 5 or so rows, do the ribbing. I will, you know, I needed to have a little bit of time to have a think. Like, you know, when you just, I didn't want to rush it and do something that I'd regret later. So I thought, well, let me just think about the neckline. So I think I will finish the body and the sleeves. Maybe make them a smidge longer than I might otherwise, but probably not. Yeah, I'll just knit them to comfort, and then I'll see if I wear it. If I find that I'm just not wearing it, or it's just way too loosey-goosey, that will be the plan. I'll come back, I'll probably, you know, cut off the ribbing, like pick up the stitches first, cut off the ribbing, and then knit upwards, like decrease to 100 stitches, knit upwards, maybe slightly longer ribbing. And what I'm hoping is that it will just come like just this side of my clavicles. Is that your clavicles? Whatever those, these bones here. So yeah, because it's really the back that's the most annoying. Like that's quite, and also like I get a really cold neck. So anyway, that's where this one's at. I might just leave that on because it's keeping me warm because it's cold today. My last work in progress, so this is number 6, is Exploration Station by Stephen West, and I did actually make a bit of progress on this. This is a bit of a long-term project for me. I think I've done 11 rows of the garter section. It's not garter, whatever it is. It's all knitting anyway. So you knit 2 rows, and then you come back and knit another 2 rows like in reverse. So it actually looks like 2 rows of stockinette, 2 rows of reverse stockinette, 2, etc. That's what that section looks like. So I just think this is a really lovely, lovely shawl. I'm looking forward to having it finished and wearing it. But the rows are super, super long. This is kind of a bit of a safety net for me. I can just grab it and work on it. So I'm using Madelinetosh yarn. That's mostly Tosh Merino Light in the colorway. Let me see, this bright one is Neon Peach, and this one is Antler, and they're the ones that Stephen used. And then I'm using, what's this one called? Graphite, which is similar to his El Greco. And then he used Reindeer in Tosh Merino Light, and I'm using a different yarn called Swish yarns. And it's just their single ply, 4-ply, so it's pretty interchangeable with Tosh Merino Light. Right, so that's my last work in progress. And yeah, I'm really, I'm feeling better about this actually, to be honest. No matter what, I'm gonna get a wearable sweater. I absolutely love this yoke. I just think it's beautiful. I'm happy otherwise with the fit. Like I'm really happy that it's just, you know, not too tight, but not hugely oversized. Yeah, and it's so lovely and cozy. So now that I'm feeling a bit better about this, and no matter what, I know I can go back and pick up the neckline. So I'm just going to, if I want to change it later, I will. But I might just wear it like this for a while, and then, you know, when I can be bothered, go back and change it. But I will discover, like if I'm not wearing it all, then that will be the message to me to, yeah, look, Natasha, it's time to rip out the neckline, you know, steel yourself, put the work in. But it would be nice to wear it a little bit before then and see if it bothers me. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'll be fine with it. So, and maybe I'll make some kind of Sophie scarf to like. But the thing that I was worried about was that this here is so beautiful. I don't really want to have something else around here that then covers this over. Does that make sense? Like I feel like this is the star. I don't really want anything else going on distracting from this beautiful color work. Right, so purchases and plans. I don't think I've bought anything this week, so that's 2 weeks in a row. So who am I? I don't know. I guess it's good. You know, you go through seasons where you're like, I want to buy all the things. And then you look around you and you go, I've got a lot of things. I've got lots of lovely yarn. So one plan that I'm keen to do is the half and half wrap. I would like to have a project that's just by the couch, that's just plain knitting, pretty much, with, you know, where I don't have to do a lot of thought. So I have this yarn from Purl Soho. I purchased, I already had this poppy red, and I had another blue that I didn't love as much with it. So then I bought this baby bird egg or something like that blue, and it's kind of blowing out with the color. It's making it look almost white, but it's actually more like an icy blue. So I did a little swatch of the two together, and yeah, I think that's, I'm much happier with that. Out of these two, I just think this looks a bit like, I don't know, it's like the two, instead of one bringing out the best in the other, they're fighting with each other or something, and they look, this blue looks quite dull next to this. Whereas this here, I think that looks really nice. And the way I plan to wear it is where it's mostly this this light blue, and then this is the bit that's peeking through. And I think that will look really pretty. So, yep, so that's my, that's a upcoming plan. With this one here, I practiced doing like a 3-stitch I-cord edging. And then this one here, I just slipped the first stitch on the edge, but I'm finding that just a little bit untidy, and this just a little bit, I don't know, I haven't decided actually. I'm wondering whether to just knit it as the pattern says and just have a garter edge. Like, I mean, that looks nice too. And then I won't have this, because it sort of flares a little bit when you slip the first stitch. That can just see how it's sort of just a little bit flary. Yeah, for me anyway, maybe with my attention. And this one here is, oh, wrong way. That actually looks quite nice, but I'm not sure. I think I might just, you know, I might just not bother with it and just knit to the end and just do it exactly as the pattern says. Now, for the large version, it's actually 3 balls of each, so that is a massive amount of knitting. But I think I'm quite looking, I do like a really big wrap or shawl that actually sort of, you know, really keeps me warm. It's almost like a blanket. So, but I think that will be my very slow and steady on the couch. I'm really glad to have knit these swatches though, because I feel like it's given me an idea of, you know, do I want to bother with the I-cord edge? Do I want to just slip the first or slip, I think, you know, like slip the last stitch, I think is what I was doing here, slipping every last stitch. I think I'm just going to knit it to pattern. I'm doing wrap and turns, not German short rows, which I think actually look quite nice in garter. I don't see any, for me, I don't see any advantage in doing a German short row when you're doing it in garter. In stockinette, 100% love German short rows, but in garter I actually think the wrap and turns are really nice. Yep. So that's a big upcoming plan. I might have to pause and find some more yarn for some of my other plans. So I'll just run quickly through my upcoming plans. I mentioned that I would like to make another Anker Summer Shirt out of this Habu bamboo yarn that I've had in my stash for ages. You know, I've done a couple of swatches on it, and yes, once I've got the sizing right on the blue one, I'm looking forward to making a sort of a charcoal version of that. And that's just so beautiful and shiny and pretty. So that's an upcoming plan. I plan to make another ranunculus out of this La Bien-Aimée silk mohair held double. And I'm thinking beads, but I just need to check to make sure that the beads that I had planned are not going to cut the yarn. I also plan to make the Sailor Swift top by Veronica Lindberg out of this Rowan cotton glacé in like a chocolate brown and a pink color. I also plan to make the Camisole No. 4 by My Favorite Things out of this Knitting for Olive pure silk, and the Kuta top by, I think, Sari Nordland. If I've got that wrong, I'll change I'll put it in the down bar if I got that wrong, out of this Sandisgarn tin liner. I think that will be really pretty in that, so I'm still planning on making that. I plan to make Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter out of this Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in the colorway Nocturne and Peach Bellini. And one last plan, but it probably won't be for a little while, is the Carnaby skirt in this Rowan felted tweed. It's a nice brown colour with sort of blue flecks, like a chocolate brown colour with these blue and tan flecks. And I'd be holding that double, so to make another Carnaby skirt. Don't ask me about that Carnaby skirt that I need to dye in purple. I haven't done that yet. Maybe this weekend, I don't know. I did try it on. Sorry if you don't know what I'm talking about. I have this skirt, a Carnaby skirt in a pinky red version that I over-dyed red, but then I didn't work so well. I'm going to over-dye it purple. I did check to make sure it fit. It does still fit as long as I don't shrink it anymore, and I lay it over on top of another one that I'd made, and it's the same size. So I was like, okay, it will work. So I've just got to get to that this weekend, I think. So that's it for my upcoming plans. I think that's plenty. But the two ones that I've just started, the field sweater and the Soho top, will be pretty quick. The field sweater might be a bit of a while, especially with all of those grains and things. But yeah, I'm enjoying all my works in progress at the moment. And this one, I almost had a bit of a cry over this one, over with the neckline. I was like, what am I gonna do? But then I think it's gonna be fine. Like I do really love this. So I'm happy with it where everything's going at the moment, and I at least have a plan for how to fix this if that needs to happen, and I have plenty of yarn. I think that's it for my purchases and plans. Sewing or any other craft, I haven't done any this week. And so I think that's kind of it for my general crafty stuff, and I'm going to move on to personal stuff. But yeah, if you're don't feel obliged to stick around. I just sort of talk a little bit about what's been going on in my week and what's upcoming. So yeah, if you've enjoyed, if you can like and subscribe, and you'll see more of these, and you'll also see some of my tutorials. And feel free to put in a comment if there's any tutorials that you're kind of like, oh, I'm struggling with this. Would you have time to do or be able to? So I don't profess to know everything about everything. People have asked me to do tutorials on things where I'm like, actually, that's just not my skill set, but I might direct them to another video. So for example, fixing mistakes in brioche. I'm just not experienced enough in that, but I know a really good video for it. So if I can be a help to direct you to someone else's video, or sometimes there might be a video that someone's done when they're knitting with the yarn in their left hand and it's hard to follow, and you wouldn't mind if I showed it the same kind of technique with the yarn in the right hand. I'm really happy to do that, as long as it's something that I feel like I can add value with a different video and that I'm confident in showing it. If I don't feel confident like fixing mistakes in brioche, I'll be the first one to look at someone else's video for how to do it. But yes, if I can help, I'm definitely happy to. So yes, if you're signing off now, thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week. Right, so I just realised I forgot my friend from the vault section, so I thought I'd show you this top called Corinna. It's actually meant to be a jumper, but I ended up knitting it as a top because I knitted a bit more fitted than I had meant to, and it just felt too fitted to be a jumper, so I just turned it into a short sleeve top. So it's Corinna by Anne Macaulay. I knit it in 2013, so about 10 years ago. I knit it out of Wollmeise 80/20 Twin, which is the same yarn that I'm using for my pink velvet, and this is the colorway Mont Blanc. And it's knit bottom up, and it's meant to be knit completely in pieces, front, back, and two sleeves, and then sewn together. So I knit the body all the way up to the arms, and then separated and knit the front and the back separately. And then I did some short rows and a 3-needle bind off for the top. Then I picked up the stitches from around the sleeve and knit the sleeve down. So it's got like a set-in sleeve. So you can still do a set-in sleeve without actually knitting the sleeves separately and sewing them in. If you just knit the front and back, and then you join them, so it's like a vest, and then you pick up the stitches and then knit down. There's I'll find there's a lady who does quite a lot of this. I'll put the name of her book down here, and that sort of gives you ideas of the ratios and how many stitches you're picking up, etc. So let me think what else. One of the things I think, and so yeah, I did that. I knit the sleeves down. The only thing that's a bit of a shame for me with the top now is it's a bit long, and because it's bottom up, I can't just rip out the bottom. So I'll show you how long it is. I used to wear my tops this long, where they sort of come, this far down. So my navel's here, so that's quite a bit down. And it's, yeah, so I guess the only thing I could really do if I really wanted to shorten it is to put in like some, you know, like I'll probably do it down here maybe, put in pick up the stitches on a needle and then cut and then graft basically. That would be the only thing, and actually cut out the section. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if it's worth it, you know, like I just don't know. I probably need to take out at least 2 inches. That's a fair bit of work there. I have more of this yarn, so to do obviously I could unravel what I use for grafting. But yeah, it is a bit of a shame. I'll put in down here what the length is from like the underarm. So it's quite fitted. You'll see that's right under the arm. And look, it's got some lovely detailing. It's got this beautiful lace detailing here, and there's also some on the back as well, and on the sleeves, and then here there's lovely lace detailing. Yeah, so I don't wear it as much. Maybe also the color, just maybe it's a bit dull and washes me out. I had really envisaged for this color a jumper, and so I guess I just sort of hadn't really had a place for it in my wardrobe. I do have some pants that are kind of this sort of blue that I do wear them with, but even when and they're kind of low-waisted, so I probably need the length. So I do have one outfit that I like, one pair of pants with this one top, that's one outfit. And that sort of feels a bit like I like things to be a bit more interchangeable, where I don't just have one thing that I can wear this one thing with. That ends up, you end up with a lot of clothes in your cupboard if you can't do some mixing and matching. So anyway, this is Corinna by Anne Macaulay, a really lovely pattern. I did make quite a few modifications in the way that I knit it. I don't particularly love setting in sleeves, so for me that's a much preferred option. If it is this kind of set in sleeve and it's knit bottom up, to finish the front and back and then pick up the stitches and then knit the sleeves down, and then of course I get the sleeves the length that I want them as well. Anyway, so that's it, my friend from the vault. Right, so personal stuff. I had a bit of a quieter week, which was nice, like a busy week at school, but a quieter weekend, which I think is really important for me at the moment when I'm starting a number of early mornings a week. I just really need that restful weekend. So yeah, and there's about 6 more weeks left in the term. So, and I've got some reports coming up and things. So I do need to make sure that I get, I just don't try to jam too much into the weekend. Other things that have been happening, Alex had her court date yesterday for her license suspension, and the magistrate was really nice. He's given her the opportunity to do something called a traffic offenders course, which she's going to do over the next couple of Saturdays, and we're going back to court 2 weeks away from, so 2 weeks from yesterday, for them to decide. So I'm expecting that she might lose her license for 1 month instead of 3, at least that's what I'm hoping, but we'll see. In the meantime, she's just got to do that traffic offenders course. It was nice to be able to support her, and yeah, so, and I think the traffic offenders course is probably a good one. It just helps you sort of see, you know, the dangers of, you know, driving on the road, which she kind of already knows after her accident, but yeah, there'll be more things for her to learn, and that's not a bad thing. Other than that, coming up, my daughter Mia booked a concert for the Foo Fighters are coming to Sydney, and so there's a concert there on, I think it's the 9th of December. So anyway, she booked tickets for me and her to go together, so I'm looking forward to that. So we've got that coming up. It's not obviously coming up for a little while, but it's just, you know, it's nice to have these things to look forward to. There's not a lot on the agenda, just busy with, you know, writing new lessons for this new course that I'm teaching, and they take a really long time. So I've still been reading this book, Life Worth Living, which I'm really enjoying. I'm about a third of the way, and my book club just actually started meeting up for it yesterday. That was our first meeting, so that was really nice to meet up with other people and have a chat about what they enjoyed in it. So yeah, I haven't been in a book club in years, so this is just our first book, and I think there'll be, like, I think they plan to make it a bit of a thing, maybe one each term. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. So that might spur me on. I'm a third of the way through. That might spur me on to, you know, finishing so that I can keep up with because I find I do that sometimes with books. I get about a third to a half of the way and then I just stall, and then I get distracted by some other book. So anyway, that will help me get back onto that. So yeah, not too much coming up. I guess just normal teaching and you know, working for the next 6 weeks leading up to the holidays, and which I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying my classes and I love my job. I'm very lucky. I feel very, very fortunate too. I really enjoy teaching. I'm enjoying doing this. I love my craft. Yeah, life's good. It feels good. It was a bit busy there, and so I just have to be a bit careful. You know, sometimes when you enjoy things in your life, you just want to add more. And more is not necessarily better. Even if it's more things that you like, more is not always better. So yeah, anyway, so it's been, you know, not very exciting, but I'm now off to the dentist. So those things still have to happen, in nothing major, just a checkup. But yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do, but yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm off to do now. Hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.